Welcome back, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Motivate, Grind, Succeed podcast, the show that gives you 100% fluff-free, guaranteed, practical, and useful tips with every single episode you can live up to your true potential. No spam, no long intros, just pure information to get you going. If you're new to the show, welcome, and I know you're going to get a ton of value from this episode. And hey, if you're returning, welcome back. I missed you. A quick favor to all who are listening to the show, new or returning, if at any point in time you get some value from this episode, please share it with somebody. 1, 2, 5, 10 people, doesn't matter. And don't forget to always implement the steps that you're going to hear today in order to get the most bang for buck out of each and every episode. So let's get into this week's episode. And this week we're talking about habits that you need to eradicate from your life. Okay, we're talking about the habits you need to eradicate. These things are things that are going to simply just slow you down in life overall, and they're not going to suit you well at all. So without any further ado, let's hop straight into it. With number one is going to be doubting yourself. You need to remove the negative thinking from your life. It's not doing anything to help you. It's not doing anything to assist you. You're literally shooting yourself in the foot every time you're thinking of a negative thought. It is the biggest self-limiting thing you can do, and that is, like I said, doubting yourself. You're literally telling yourself you can't do something. Why would you do that, right? It's like going up to your friend, or rather, your friend coming up to you and asking you for advice on something and saying, hey, I'm trying to, let's say, start up this YouTube channel, and I want to be able to do this. Can you give me some advice? That's like literally telling that friend, yeah, don't even do it. You're going to fail. Why would you tell that to your friend? Your friend's actually trying to do something and you're just going to immediately shoot it down. You're not even going to give them a why. You're just going to tell them, yeah, just don't do it. You're going to fail. That's the exact same thing you're doing when you literally start doubting yourself and telling yourself you can't do something. You're literally limiting your ability to be able to do whatever it is you think that you're able to do. Personal example. Starting this podcast, I didn't think I was going to get to this stage in the podcast where I was going to be able to see it continue to take off and start growing the way that it actually is growing now. I didn't think I was going to get to this stage, to be honest with you, but yet here we are. And I would have never gotten to that stage if I doubted myself. Right? Now, I'm not going to say I didn't have doubts in the start, because that's just how it was, right? I had my doubts in the start. I didn't know if this was actually going to take off, if it was going to do anything. I didn't know. I simply was literally shooting an arrow in the dark. I had an idea, so I had a little lantern next to me, but there was no idea for me to have a clear path forward of what to do. But what I didn't do was tell myself I can't do this. I gave it my best shot. I gave it my best effort and said, look, if this doesn't work out, we can just take it down. No harm done, no hard feelings. At least I learned something. This is not something that I was made to do. But yet, look at that. Here we are still. I don't even know what episode number this is. But yet, look, here we are again. You all keep coming back, and I thank you very much for that. To listen to my, I would say, wonderful voice, but that sounds a little narcissistic. So we'll leave that one. We'll leave that one alone. Anyway, number one, doubting yourself. That's a habit you need to eradicate from your life. Okay. Number two is the fear of failure. Guys, just going to tell you right now, you're going to fail at things. It is what it is. You probably didn't want to hear that, but I'm here to tell you the truth here. It is what it is. You're going to fail at some things. I am going to fail at some things. Every person that you see around you is going to fail at some things. Okay, another personal example. Back to the issue of the podcast here. Before the podcast, I failed 2 other business ventures. As you all have probably heard, if you've listened to past episodes and everything, you'll know that was a drop shipping store and YouTube, right? So I failed those avenues, right? And there are various reasons that I would attribute as to why that I actually failed them, but I won't get into a huge amount of detail right now. But just know that you will fail at those things. You will fail at things. It just is what it is. You're not perfect, and it's okay to be that way, but you have to not beat yourself up over the failure and realize that failure is the way that you're going to learn. Okay. If you do everything right and you did everything perfect, how are you going to learn? It's literally impossible to learn if you did everything right. There's nothing to learn, because if you're doing it right, you're not going to change it. But if you do something wrong, then that's where the change comes in, and you can learn something from that. So instead of seeing failure as a failure, and then going back to point number 1 we just mentioned, which was doubting yourself, embrace that failure, embrace the knowledge that you will fail, and take that and say, okay, what am I actually going to learn from this? I'm not going to look at this failure as, oh, I failed, this sucks, I'm not going to ever do this again. Look at the example of what happened to you. Look at it, reflect on it, and tell yourself, what can I learn from this? What valuable lesson did I get? What skills did I garner? Ask yourself that. It's a change of mindset that you're going through, right? And you'll notice that as we're going through these habits, a lot of these habits, we're not just going to remove them. I know the title says to eradicate them, but we're not going to eradicate them and then leave them with absolutely nothing. We're going to eradicate them and then replace them with something more positive. So you'll see, even if I don't explicitly say it, intrinsically and implicitly in these things, you'll see that there are habits you should put in place. So for example, for doubting yourself, instead of doubting yourself, give yourself positive self-talk, positive reinforcement. Tell yourself that you can do these things. Find accountability partners that will tell you that you can do these things, right? The fear of failure. Instead of being fearful of failure, embrace the failure. Embrace the fact that you're not going to be perfect at everything and that that's actually okay. Number 3, criticizing others. Oh boy. Alrighty. Criticizing others. We can't do this. We can't do this anymore. I mean, it is what it is. We're not going to sugarcoat nothing out here. You can't be doing this anymore. Okay. And when I say criticizing others, I also include yourself in there as well. Don't compare your step that you're on right now in your life journey of whatever it is that you're doing with your neighbor. Don't do that. Because number 1, you don't know how in the world they got there. You don't know what money they may have been given or that they had to work for. You don't know how long they've been at this or what they have to do. You have no idea. So don't compare yourself at your current step to somebody else. And I know in whatever you're doing, whatever you're trying to grind out, whatever you're trying to grow in, it's a big, big temptation that you want to do that. And I'm telling you, especially myself being also in the world of fitness as well, it's a big temptation to compare yourself and your progress in certain things to other people's progress and other people's statures that you see on Instagram, when, let's be honest, like half of them are faked, okay? Probably even more than half of them are faked. But you get the idea, right? When I say faked, I mean like natural. But that's a whole nother topic all on its own, right? What I'm trying to get at here is that you cannot criticize others, okay? Especially not if it's going to involve you trying to build yourself up with that. So what I mean by that is that you cannot use bringing other people down to lift yourself up, because that is nothing but just a crab mentality, right? That's what that is. It's simply a crab mentality. It's something, and if you've never heard of crab mentality, quick definition of that is a crab mentality is that when you're out fishing and people are fishing for fish, obviously, fish, crabs, lobster, whatever kind of seafood that they're having or that they're looking for at the time, you don't have to put a bucket on, or you don't have to put a lid on a bucket of crabs, because the crabs will continue to pull each other back down while they're trying to pull themselves up. So if everybody's trying to pull the other person down, or in this case of the crabs, every crab trying to pull the other crab down, you don't have to keep a lid on the bucket, because the crabs themselves will keep pulling themselves back down. So no crab is ever going to get out. And the same thing with us. If we have that same kind of crab mentality, there's no way anybody's going to be able to exceed and soar in whatever they're doing. And criticizing others is having that crab mentality. You're trying to constantly pull everybody else down to your level so that way you can rise up. We can't be doing that anymore. What is that rooted in? It's probably rooted in some insecurities of some sort, which I highly advise you go and get that checked out by somebody somewhere. But again, that's a topic for a whole nother episode. And in fact, if you actually want to listen to any more information about that, I actually did an episode a while back with a guest named Zach Rutledge, where we talked about depression and anxiety and therapy and all this kind of thing. So you can go back and listen to that episode as well. You can go to the website, check it out. Guarantee you're going to get a lot of value out of that one too. Number 4 habit that you need to eradicate from your life, and it kind of ties in with number 1, and that is negative self-talk, right? So doubting yourself, as I talked about with number 1, was dealing more with negative thinking, but negative self-talk, which will have a dedicated episode coming out in a little bit later, so stay tuned for that as well. Negative self-talk is actually verbalizing those things, right? So it's the next step of doubting yourself, right? It's taking those thoughts that you have and actually verbally saying, whether directly, indirectly, explicit versus implicit conversations, or just sitting with you with your own thoughts, doesn't matter. That negative self-talk, when it comes out saying, man, I really can't do this. This isn't me. I can't, there's just no way I can accomplish X, Y, Z. It's just, I'm too big. I'm too this, I don't have a proper speaking voice. I don't have the gusto that John does, right? I don't have the charisma that Chad does, right? I don't have the kind of swag and kind of drip that, I don't know, give me another name, that Abigail does, or so, you know what I mean? Like, you keep telling yourself these things, but here's the thing, you aren't John, okay? You aren't John, you aren't Abigail, you aren't Chad. You weren't made to be them, because you were made for something totally different. So why would you be beating yourself up because you weren't made like somebody else, when you should be an authentic you versus a copy of somebody else? Like, make that make sense to me. Like, you were made to be you and an authentic version of you. So why then would you be a second-hand attempted carbon copy of somebody else, forcing yourself to do things that you're not comfortable doing, that isn't in your zone of genius, that doesn't come naturally easy to you? Why would you do that instead of just staying in your zone of genius and zone of power and work with what you got? I don't know. But hey, I'm just some dude on the internet, right? I'm just some dude on the internet trying to give you some advice. Take it or leave it. We're moving on to procrastination, which is the 5th habit that you should eradicate from your life, right? Now, procrastination. How do we eradicate this? Well, nothing really groundbreaking on this one, but guarantee you've probably heard me say this once or twice before, and that is to take action. I know, not very groundbreaking. Sorry, not sorry, right? Yeah, to overcome procrastination, you just got to take action. When you procrastinate, some people can say it's a sign of laziness, and sometimes it can be, but if it's something that you really want to do, or that you're telling yourself that you really want to do, like for me, making a podcast episode, or maybe for you, it might be recording a YouTube video, or going to go to the gym, or you're going to go do some shopping, or whatever it is that you got to do, and you have the time to do it right now, and you just choose not to do it, it could be laziness, or it could be that you simply don't have enough drive in you. It's not that important to you. It doesn't really set a fire underneath you. You're not that passionate about it, or you're not as passionate as you're leading on. Even if you say, oh, Sean, I'm passionate about it, I'm truly passionate about it. Look, actions speak louder than words, okay? If you were truly passionate about it, wouldn't you be getting up and doing stuff? I can say I'm passionate about this podcast all I want, but if I'm uploading once a month and I'm uploading, mediocre quality episodes that, I'm just like, this will do, this is good enough, am I really passionate about it? If I'm always putting off saying, I can record that tomorrow, I can record that later, am I truly passionate about it? No. I would argue I'm not. Because I'm not putting in the effort that is required of something like this to grow, be sustained, and be proper. I'm simply not. So again, procrastination. It could be a sign of laziness, but I want to believe that it could be also a sign that you're just simply not driven and passionate about whatever it is that you're looking into. All right, final habit that you need to eradicate from your life, and this one is a big one for me because I used to fall into this trap all the time in my younger years, and that is people pleasing. Look, you're not going to please everybody. It's literally impossible. I wish I could have told myself this back when I was in high school. Like, look, you literally cannot please everybody. It is impossible. Say it with me. Hold on, let me get this mic close. Look, it is literally impossible to please everybody. Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and every other kind of word that ends in "ly." You can't do it. Okay? Let me give you a quick example. You're trying to please people, right? You want to go, let's say you're driving, and you want to go to the left, right? You don't even have a GPS, you're just driving, just drive. You want to go to the left. And so you tell to your 3 passengers, 1 passenger seat, 2 in the back seats. You're driving, right? You're driving down the road, you want to turn left. And you're just like, okay, who wants to turn left? 3 people, including you, say you want to turn left. 1 person in the back right over there says they want to go right. What do? Okay, well, in this case, you say, well, 75% said we turn left, so we're going to turn left. But that 1 person that you want to appease, they want to go right. And so it's like, well, what happens if we go right? And someone else is like, well, if you go right, I want to go straight, says the person behind you. But you're like, but you just want to go left. Like, well, yeah, now I want to go straight because I don't want to go to the right. And left, I was just like, it was whatever. I want to go straight now. So now you're just like, now you're stuck. Now, do you go left? Do you go straight? Do you go right? So now you're thinking, okay, you know what? Let's just turn back around. So you want to go back and turn around because you ain't trying to have all this. But the person on the right to you is like, bro, why are we turning back around? I just took off like 3 days from work just so we can go and do this nice drive. And you want to turn around now? What do you do? What do you do at this point? There's 4 different people. They want to go 4 different directions. Like you literally can't please everybody, right? I mean, you literally can't. It's literally impossible to please everybody. So what you have to do is, yes, you have to be a little selfish here. You have to live more for yourself, right? You got to do what is, like I said before, is in your zone of genius, your zone of power. You have to do what comes easy and natural to you and what you feel like is your God-given gift to people on this planet. You have to do that. And don't worry about who you're helping and versus who you're hurting, okay? Because you're going to help the people that need help. And the people that aren't trying to be all a part of that, they didn't even need to be a part of it in the first place. Harsh truth, but it's reality. They didn't need to be a part of it in the first place. Again, take my podcast, for example. Am I helping a ton of people? I want to believe that I am. I want to believe that I'm helping as many people as I can with this advice that I have. And if you like it, I'm happy for you. And I would love if you rated and reviewed, please, in the description. That'd be fantastic if you could rate and review, shameless plug. But I'm not going to be able to help out everybody. Some people just won't like this. Some people will not agree with me. That's okay. That's perfectly fine. I didn't ask you to agree with me. I'm not demanding that you agree with me. This is the internet. Wherever you're watching, listening, you can easily close a tab, close out of this podcast. You can stop listening whenever you want. Okay. I'm not holding you here. There's no one holding a gun to your head saying you have to listen to me. There's no one holding a gun to your head saying you have to take my advice. Okay. What I'm doing is delivering what I believe is the message that I want people to hear and what I want and what I would prefer that people would listen to. If you don't like it, that sucks, bro. I don't know how else to put it, but if you don't like it, it probably wasn't for you. And for people who have been on my website before, you all know in my About section, I have a section in there saying this podcast is for you if, and I list the reasons. And and right below that, this podcast is not for you if, and then I list the reasons. If you fall into the not for you category, you're better off just not listening. That means it was not meant for you, and that's perfectly fine. This information is not meant for everybody. That's all right. But the lesson I'm trying to drive home is that you cannot live your life trying to appease everybody, because trying to appease everybody, you will end up appeasing nobody, because there's always going to be something that you do that somebody doesn't like. And that's just how life is. You literally cannot appease everybody. Focus on the people you can help. Focus on the people that want to listen to what it is that you have to bring. Focus on them and bring the best quality you can to them. And the people who are hating and don't appreciate it, it is what it is. Throw your hands up, laissez-faire. It is what it is. So Recap on all of this, the habits that you need to eradicate from your life. Number 1, doubting yourself. Don't do it. Don't doubt yourself. Be limitless. Okay? Be limitless. Whatever limits you have for yourself are the limits that you set in your head. Don't doubt yourself. Number 2 is the fear of failure. Don't fear failure. Embrace it. It's always got a lesson for you to learn whenever you fail. Criticizing others, including criticizing yourself. This goes along with the number 4 one, negative self-talk, and also the number 1 again, doubting yourself. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay? Don't do it. Or in the words of the meme, don't do it. Don't do it. Okay? Procrastination is the next one. And last off is people pleasing, because when you try to appease everybody, you end up appeasing nobody. And guys, with that, thank you. I'm bringing this week's episode to a close. Thank you so much for tuning in again to another episode of the Motivate Grind to See podcast. But before you go, I got 3 more requests of you. Number 1, if you found this show useful, go ahead and subscribe to the show. We have weekly episode releases, and be on the lookout for them every Monday. And if we have a guest, they're released on Wednesdays. Leave a rating and or a review of what you think about this week's episode. If it's 1 star, rate it 1. If it's 5 stars, rate it 5. And finally, follow me on social media. All the links to that will be in this episode or this video description, wherever you're listening. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you all in the next episode.